How do you prepare for a meeting with administration? How do you prepare to meet with whether it's administration or the board of directors or even your department chairman? How do you get ready for that? I saw a movie when I was a kid, just a short little tongue in cheek silent movie skit type thing that made an impression on me. And it was two people. It was a man and his wife. And in the beginning, the woman held up a little placard that said, "Meeting with the boss," and the time the meeting was supposed to be. And then held up another placard that said the time that it currently was. And her husband wasn't dressed yet for the meeting, so he went into the bedroom and he changed clothes. And when he came out, she made sure all his buttons were in a row. And he put on his jacket and she made sure the shoulders were where they were supposed to be and straightened his tie and all that. And then he started toward the door and she stopped him and made sure he put his hat on and got his hat all straight. And then she held open the front door. And instead of going out the front door, he took a detour and he went into the bathroom, stuck his head down the toilet, and flushed. Why? Because many of us feel like a meeting with our administrators or the board of directors or even our department chairman is about as productive as flushing our head down the toilet. How do we prepare for a meeting with these people? Do we pump ourselves up by, going and working out and listening to motivating music or a motivational speech? How do we get ready for that? There are things you can do. There really are. But I don't think those are the things that are really effective. Difficult meetings have to happen. They have to take place. And we need to know how to prepare for them. We need to keep in mind that the people who go into administrative roles aren't the same kind of people who become doctors or nurses or take other roles in the hospital setting. You see, it comes down to both personality and values. There are four basic personality types, and this is something that was discovered many years ago, around 400 BC, and Hippocrates is often credited with that, but he didn't really come up with that theorem. He popularized it, and there are a lot of different four personality type methods, if you please, and there are a lot of similarities between all of them. But for now, let's just say four personality types. Two of them tend to be very emotional, and two of them are much more analytical. And they believe that the two that are analytical believe that when emotions run high, knowledge runs low. Now, the personality type that tends to go into administration is one of those who's rather non-emotional. And so if you try pleading to his emotions, you're not going to get very far. He's what we call the blueprint personality in the method that I use. Physicians are also also high in one of those personality types that's not very emotional. Physicians are often high in what we call the knowledge personality type, which makes sense considering the amount of time they spend in school and in training. But it's also balanced with another personality type that is emotional, what we call the nurturing personality type. And it's this balance between knowledge and nurturing that often drives them into healthcare. And we're grateful for that. Now, nursing staff tend to be really high in that nurturing personality type. And it's what makes them so excellent at bedside care. It's important to keep in mind that we're all four personality types, all of us. And we tend to live our lives mostly in those first two personality types. whatever our first two personality types are, that's where most of our action and behavior come from. So, if the blueprint personality type is what we see predominantly in administration, then let's take a moment and look at what those values are. Because we're driven by the values, the core values of our primary personality code. And for the blueprint personality, those things would be, um, things like structure, systems, planning, predictability, responsibility, credentials, and titles. Now, these observations that I've made about healthcare workers and their personalities, these are based on actually cracking the personality codes of many healthcare workers. It's not a guess. It's actual data and research that I've done. However, there's still generalizations. And so it's not a hard and fast rule, and there will be people who are exceptions. But it is data and information that you can use when you get ready to go speak to someone in healthcare. Know your audience. This is important advice no matter whom you're speaking to. So as you get ready to go speak to someone in administration, someone who's high in blueprint, keep those values in mind, those values of stability, structure, planning, responsibility, credentials, and titles. But know also that there are a few other core values that they have. And you should also be aware that they despise risk. They will do just about anything to avoid risk. So if you, as a physician or nurse, are going to talk to them about, say, a new piece of equipment that you want, or that you, I should say, that you need, what are your hurdles going to be in that conversation? The first hurdle is that you need to justify the expenditure and demonstrate how this piece of equipment fits into the overall plan for the structure of the organization over the next 2 to 5 years. And then show the predictability of this product over its competitors. And convince them, thirdly, convince them that the product is low risk, that it's going to be more risky to not get this product than to go ahead and make the purchase and spend the money. And you want to follow this same process with any new policy you want, any new personnel you want to get, any training that you need, or with setting boundaries. And we know setting boundaries has become a big deal with all the extra workload being placed on any of our healthcare workers, whether they be physicians, nurses, RTs, phlebotomists. This has become a big issue. Even our housekeepers. Increasing workload has led to a lot of moral injury, and we need to be able to set boundaries. But to set those boundaries successfully, we have to be able to speak the language of the blueprint administrator. When you come in to speak with them, I suggest you bring visual aids. They like to have everything written out and written out in bullet point form. When you write it out, be sure and include all the financial information, including where you might run into extra expenses. They want that all written out. They don't want any surprises. Surprises are high risk. So do that for them. Go the extra mile and present them with that information. And then put it all in a nice little folder because they like that. That makes them happy. Now, personally, for me, with my personality type, all of that represents busy work. I just don't see the point in doing it, except that by doing all of that work up front and presenting that to them so that they have it all the first time, Saves me time. And I'm all about saving time. So I'll do it. So, blueprint, administrator, hates risk, likes bullet points, wants it all predictable and low risk. So, learn to speak their language and you'll accomplish more. I'm Dr. Nan Nessel of Beat Down Burnout. See ya.